everybody. Welcome back to Grief Angels podcast. I am your host, Rose Gishure. I am super excited to be here on episode number 2. We've had such a fantastic launch and release last time with episode 1. I hope you've watched it. If you haven't, please do follow us on our socials and get to watch that fantastic conversation we had last time. So today, and by the way, in case you're new at Grief Angels, what we do here, we discuss all things grief. We demystify grief. Grief is something that a lot of people don't talk about, yet it's something that affects us every other day. So at Grief Angels, we are hoping to have these difficult and sometimes sad and sometimes even triggering conversations that are super important. And then, as I said, today we are on episode 2. I am joined by yet another friend of mine who is here to help us discuss an interesting topic as well, which is getting through the holidays. And what do I mean by that? It is the season to be jolly. That's what people say. It's the most wonderful time of the year. This is Christmas. It's right at our doorstep. Yet for a lot of us, that can also be a very difficult time, and we'll get to explain what that actually means. If you go out anywhere in the malls right now, it's the Christmas trees are up, the lights are glowing, people are planning to go back to Ushago, and the mbuzis are getting ready. But what does that mean for somebody who has probably lost someone this year or in the recent past? So this conversation today is actually to help us understand, for somebody who is grieving, if you're out there and you're grieving this Christmas, it's your first Christmas without your loved one, it's your first holiday season without your loved one. How do you get through it and what to do? So I'm here, like I said, joined by my friend. Welcome, Babja.
Thank you, Babja.
It's so, guys, by the way, if you want to launch a podcast or anything that you want to launch, business or whatever, I think you need to stay close to your friends. I'm always just bringing my friends out here. So welcome, Babja, to the show.
Thank you.
Maybe let the audience get a sense of who you are and
Yeah.
and what you do, and don't answer it like it's an interview. I'm not giving you a job, yeah. It's just a conversation. So tell us about yourself.
Thank you, Rose. I'm Martin Maina, a long-time friend to Rose. So we've known each other for the last, how many?
30 years.
Oh,
Do you know that's a long time?
Yeah, quite a long
I think
time.
me and Babja, I call him Babja, and I don't know why I call you Babja. Maybe you can tell us why your name is Babja. But before you tell us, yeah, it's been 1992 since day one of class, right?
Yeah.
I'm your oldest friend.
You wish. So, yeah, we've known each other for a very long time.
Yeah.
We used to live in the same estate.
Yes, we did.
And went to the same school. And yeah, our families have been good friends all this time. And we are still friends to date. So, yes, I'm happy to hear.
What is Babja?
Oh, Babja. Funny. This came from my son. My firstborn son, he's Justin. And so when he was born, people used to call me Baba Justin.
Baba Justin. Yes.
But he could not say Baba Justin. So he called me Babja.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's how the name stuck. Yeah, it stuck.
Okay, so good stuff. So yeah, we've been friends for a long time. We went to same schools, primary school, all the way to university. Who was the strongest in school? Mimi na wewe.
Strongest physically, you. Academically.
Physically ni wewe for sure.
Academically it was me. So.
Academically it was me. But anyway, that's not the conversation for today. Talk to us about your grief. And I know you've recently gone through a loss, which is quite sad. And a lot of people could be here not knowing that. But let us know what that was. Who did you lose? How long ago was it?
Yeah. So my grief relates to the loss of my mom. I lost my mom back in 2021, January. She passed on January the 7th. Yeah. So actually it's now 1 year,
actually, it's
11 months. Yeah. So it's going to be 2 years in January. Yes. So it's been the two of us. It was the two of us, my mom and myself. I don't have brothers and sisters. Okay. So it was quite devastating to lose my mom. And in my wildest dreams, I never thought this could happen. Yeah. All this while, you look up to your parents or to those people who support you as these super super human people.
Yeah.
So actually, at one point when she passed on, I told someone I never thought that my mom could die.
I know. I know.
Yeah, to me she was immortal.
Yeah. I'm so sorry about that.
Yeah.
And I mean, of course, I knew your mom, and she was like a mom to me. We grew up together. She would discipline us together. Ile kuchapwa tumechapwa pia ni mingi. But it's an interesting thing you just said right now, before even we go anywhere else. I think the thing about, it's not like you've not lost people before, right? But this is the closest one that has come. And all through your life, you've gone to different funerals, been in planning committees, but then this one, which is so close to you, because you said it was just you and your mom. I know she was a single mom. She raised you by herself. Yeah, that's when you realize when death comes to your doorstep. That's hard, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like you never get to understand what people are going through until you are actually going through it yourself.
Until it happens to you, that's the only time you know what it really means. And it was quite a new experience. Yeah, like you've said, we've lost people before.
Yes.
We've lost friends, we've lost relatives. But my mom being the closest to me at the time, I guess this was, very, very hard.
Okay. Maybe one more thing before we jump into the topic of the day, because you keep saying things and I keep having so many questions. There's a thing you did just now when you said it is me and my mom. Then you corrected yourself and said it was me and my mom.
Yeah.
So one of the things that happens with loss of someone, especially when it's still very fresh, you almost have to catch yourself from speaking in the present tense. My mom likes to watch soap operas. My mom loved to watch soap operas. Or it was me and it is me and her too. It was me and her. Did you catch yourself a couple of times doing that in the beginning?
Actually, it happens all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be in the conversation telling someone, mom said, and I'll sit back and reflect. When I say mom said, am I talking in the present tense or in the past tense? Yeah, so it's something that happens all the time. And I guess it's because we hold on to these memories forever. Despite the fact that they are gone, they are still here with us in one form or another.
I think we need a whole other episode on that one, which is just getting used to speaking in the past tense. I think we have to do a whole episode on that. But now let's go into today, and maybe paint a picture for us. What was Christmas, or maybe even the holidays for you? Because not just Christmas, there's other holidays. It could be Easter. What are the holidays like when she was still around for you, for your family? What was that like?
Trying to remember or to recall the past holidays.
Yeah.
I guess for us, Easter was the most celebrated holidays.
Okay.
And we are Catholic.
Yeah.
So if anyone knows the Catholic tradition, when it's around Easter, there is a whole 4 days or so where you get to do, go to church. Starting from Holy Thursday to Good Friday, Holy Saturday, and then Easter Sunday and Easter Monday.
Yeah.
So right from a very young age, we used to do this with my mom. So Easter has always been very close to my heart.
Okay.
So when she passed on in January, Easter was
came like 3 months later.
Yeah, Easter was the hardest for me because I didn't get to do this.
Yeah.
And even if I got to do it with, let's say, my wife and my kids, it was still a totally different experience from what we did when it was me and my mom and the other family.
Yeah.
So that one hit me quite hard. And I remember soon after she passed on, I didn't have this sense of a church, this sense of these Christian holidays. I didn't want to go to church because it felt totally different. And anytime I went to church, it always felt like it's why am I even going to church?
What's the point?
God has brought this on me, so I really shouldn't be in this place. But at the back of my mind, I still knew I should be doing this. So Easter was hard. Then came Christmas. What we used to do in the past, before I got married, maybe it was just me and my mom. So we would maybe join the other extended family, and we would have a good time together. Then when I got my family, my wife and my two kids, we used to go home, spend time with mom. And during that time, from about 2019, we started new family traditions where we would exchange gifts during Christmas.
Nice.
You know,
Nice.
actually it was my mom who brought, who introduced these. I guess this was in 2019. After our daughter was born, and when we traveled home, we found wrapped presents.
Nice.
And so it was a big surprise for us, because this is something that had not happened before. And so 2020, we did the same thing. Now we exchanged gifts, all of us. It was quite a good and memorable thing.
Okay. So, and I know your mom was a staunch Catholic, so I know how big church is for you. And I guess even just, and I know you're still in your grief journey, as I am, even if it's 20 years later since my dad died. I think the question, the thing you said about still being very angry at God, at some point in this journey on Grief Angels, we will definitely go through people like to call them the stages of grief. And one of the very first ones for sure will be the shock and the anger of it all, because how dare
why me?
Dare, and then why me? You know, so people I know will not really deviate. It's just I guess not want to go to church because you're like you're feeling let down by God. You're like, we did this together, especially with terminal illnesses, because I know that's the case for you, and that was the case for me for a couple of people in my life. And I'm like, we have been at this where you pray and you know you're supposed to, like, you think you pray and your prayers get answered, right? That's what we were taught, right? Then this happens and you're like, wait, this person just let me down, you know? So I get your anger, and your anger is valid for sure.
Actually, what happened, my mom was terminally ill, and then she recovered from that.
I remember.
And then she got a totally unrelated illness.
Yes.
So, and when she was terminally ill, we thought this is the time that she'll die, but she survived that. So when something else came up and took her,
like, oh.
We were wondering, okay, well, what is this? And when we used to go to church, I remember that was my saddest time of all. You know, because I feel, okay, now all this time we thought that we are out of the woods, and then something totally new comes up, takes her. So why did it happen?
I know.
So I remember one Sunday, I got so angry in church, and I just said in the middle of mass, God, you know what? It's been great.
I'm out.
Me and you,
done.
Because you Monday to Saturday I'll be feeling all good. Okay, the grief is still there. But it will get amplified on Sunday.
Exactly.
You know.
Exactly.
So I thought, I'm not going to do this to myself. So if this is the feeling that I'll be getting each and every Sunday, no, I had better spend my time
elsewhere.
Elsewhere.
Okay. So I'm gonna ask you something just from a word you've said, or maybe just first, what are Christmases and holidays and Easter even for you now without her? Like, how does that sit with you today? You told us what it was before. You told us Easter was really hard the first time because of the whole church thing. What about Christmas and going home? Now she's not there. Your kids, how are they?
Yeah, it's a very new experience, and that's when the holidays come, that's when you realize this person is really gone. Okay. So for me, it's been quite hard. Even for the kids. The kids remember some of the holidays that we went with my mom when she was here, because we had started establishing new traditions where we would go out like let's say to Mombasa, to wherever, have a week. My mom, the kids, my wife. So it was great. But now, the kids will ask you, what happened to Shosho? Why is Shosho not coming? And for kids, actually, it's quite it's quite a different experience for them. Because they do not know how to express their grief. They know this person is not there, but they don't understand why. So at the present, I actually, it's on very rare occasions that I'll go home. Because the home is not really about the house.
That's true. That's true.
So anytime anyone tells me, when are you coming home? I'm always asking myself, what do you mean by coming home? It never makes sense.
I know.
Maybe tell me, when are you visiting the house? Because
to see the structure.
It's just a structure that is there, since she's not there, I on very rare occasions will I go there, and it's not during the holidays. Because nothing is really taking me there,
Okay. And I think for our audience, it's important to note that while we probably will focus a lot on the loss of, say, your mom and going back to Shago, we acknowledge the fact that there are people who have lost not just your mother. Could have lost a spouse, for example, or you have lost even a child, or you've lost a sibling or a dad, and that still feels the same, because at the end of the day, what the holidays do, like you said, is that realization that, hey, there's an empty seat at the table. So and so used to sit here when we're seated for dinner or for the family lunch at Christmas. Or even so and so used to be the person who was in charge of the Christmas tree, or maybe the mbuzi, for example. So that also we see and we acknowledge it. A question for you is, would you say, you used a word that is interesting, which is grief gets amplified during the holidays. Is that true?
Yeah.
It gets louder.
It gets louder.
Yeah.
During holidays, during festivals, whether it's Mother's Day, or even people who lost their Father's Day, it feels totally different, because all over the place, everyone is saying,
celebrating,
posting the pictures of their mom. So I guess for most people who've lost their parents, will post something like Happy Mother's Day in heaven, or something like that. And then there are also birthdays, when you remember your parents' birthday, or your child's birthday, or the person that is closest to you that you've lost. It becomes that whole realization. It hits. It's always fresh every time.
I know. Yeah. I remember after my mom died, it's been 7 years now, or 7.5. This is the 7th Christmas without her. And she was also very big on Christmases, and she was always munakujalini, and you pack your boot with a lot of shopping from the supermarket, and you're going to come back with a lot of shopping from the shamba. It's like some type of exchange. So I remember the first one, and I don't know to date if it was like avoiding the house, because when you were talking about not going back to the house, and even for us, she was the only remaining parent at the time, you're like, am I avoiding going home because of the memories that are there? So we just didn't go home that first Christmas. We chose, me and my siblings, to go gallivanting somewhere in, I guess, Nyahururu or something. The second Christmas, again, we found another place. So we kept finding so many other things to do, and that seemed to work for us, because I think at the end of the day, you choose what works for you and you run with it, right? So this episode is also to help people who are going through maybe their first holidays without their loved ones, right? In our conversation today, we've mentioned a couple of things that we have done or maybe have worked for us, but I guess let's now dig a little deeper into any tips that have worked for us, right? So what would you say would be a tip, like your first tip for somebody who is going through this Christmas as their first Christmas of their loved one, maybe even their second one? What would you say would be helpful for somebody like that?
Well, I think one critical thing that you need to do is to plan.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You have to plan for your holiday, because like it or not, this person is not there.
That's true.
And life has to go on.
That's true.
You know? So plan where you will be during, say, Christmas, during Easter, when people are celebrating, when people are with their families. For us, what we did, I remember when Mom passed in January of 2021, we had a whole holiday planned in December. Yeah. So it had not occurred to me that actually I need to make a plan for this. Yeah. My wife is she kept asking me when we were approaching October. Yeah. So she asked, so what are we doing for Christmas? And then it hit me. Oh my God.
There's no going home.
There's no going home. And if we stay in the house, it's going to be tormenting.
Yeah, that's true.
And the culture in Nairobi,
everyone disappears. Kila mtu ako ushago.
Yeah, kila mtu ako ushago. Yeah. Nairobi is a ghost town.
I know. It's
so it can get so lonely at that time. So
it does, yeah.
Immediately she told me about this. We started planning for our holiday. Yeah. And so in the December of 2021, I think we went to Mombasa for the week. Yeah. Then and we made sure that by the time it's 31st, we also have something else planned for that, so that we don't feel that
the gap, the loneliness, which is true, because I think, which is the same thing that I did, right? So you're yes, in a sense, you don't want to go home because you're probably not ready to face that reality of going to the empty house. But there's also that thing of planning ahead. I think when you plan ahead, it removes all these questions of unafanya nini.
Yes.
You already have an answer for what are you doing for Christmas, such that even if somebody tells you, and people will invite you to things, right? They're inviting you to something and they're doing it out of goodwill, for sure. But now you have an answer for them. Say, hey, thank you for the invite, but actually I'm doing this. So I think planning ahead, and the thing that works is not planning at Christmas time.
No.
Because first and foremost, it's very expensive. But secondly, it can be quite confusing, because you're also not just doing it just for the sake. So when you plan months in advance, you already have almost shielded yourself from that, having to think about it at Christmas when the thing is already in your face and the Christmas trees are up in your whatever in the face, and you're like, okay. So yeah, that's fine. I think for me, what has also worked, which is very related to planning, is I'd say setting boundaries. So when you set boundaries, which is the same thing, like if somebody invites you, you can say yes or you can say no, right? And if I say no, I think I expect that the person who has invited me understands that it's okay.
Yeah.
If you invite me, I don't have to say yes. So setting boundaries means that you can say no. Or you can even say, I'll come, but I only come for 2 hours. I cannot overextend myself, which ultimately reduces pressure for yourself. Because imagine, and I was thinking about when I was thinking about this episode, and I'm thinking, if somebody invited, and this is now not necessarily, I'd say in our case, but somebody who's lost a spouse, and then you go to a place where everybody's coupled up, that will crush you. That will torment you.
Definitely.
So I think it's also just one, after you plan ahead, figure out if you must go to an event, what is the setting of the event? And then if it's triggering, you don't have to put yourself through that. And setting boundaries and saying no means that people will respect your no, and they will know that you're not ready for it now. Yeah. And when you're ready, you will come. So I guess, and if you have the right friends, they will understand that, right? So set your boundaries, reduce the pressure for yourself, plan different things. That's my tip 2. What is your tip 3?
I can say another tip would be about the family traditions. So before the person that you loved left, there are certain things that you observed. And they might not work at the current moment. So you need to see what do you want to retain from the interactions or the relationships that you had with the person before. And what new traditions do you want to to pick up. So, like for my case,
the gift thing.
Christmas.
Did you continue that?
Yeah, definitely, definitely. And now that for us, Christmas, when it was just me and my mom, Christmas was just another day. Ni siku tu ya kukula chapo.
Chapati lazima tukule on Christmas.
Kitambo watu walikuwa wamepatia chapati heshima sana.
Because we eat it on Mondays.
Siku hizi chapati watu wanaipika na madharau.
I swear.
So
it's on the streets.
Yeah. So right now, we decided that yes, this whole tradition of gifting, we thought it's a good thing. Okay. And so now, as our kids grow up, they actually know that when it's Christmas, it's time to get a gift. There's something new. So when they check the calendar and it's in November, they'll start asking you, what am I getting for Christmas?
They'll start hinting.
Yes. So I need this. Yeah. So setting new traditions, and just decide what will really work for you.
Okay. Yeah, that's actually true. And I think also the other thing about traditions is people try to kill themselves, and I think this one is also related to point number maybe 4 or whatever point it is. You try to kill yourself with, and I think kill is the wrong word to use. It's the wrong choice of words. Right?
Not surprised.
Try to overwhelm yourself with continuing things that people did. So my mom did this. My mom used to wake up at 4 a.m. on Christmas Day to do XYZ. It's not gonna be Christmas if I don't wake up at 4 a.m. to do XYZ. But it's not a you thing, you know. It was a her thing, or it was a them thing. So, like you've said, it's picking what can continue, and leaving the ones that cannot behind, right? So
absolutely,
it's almost redefining your Christmas expectations. Which is what I was going with this, which is like my point 4. Redefine your Christmas expectations. Don't overwhelm yourself with it ought to be like this or it should have been like this. I guess it's embrace the reality of it all. And even if, for example, which is another struggle that I see people have, is assuming the person you lost was the breadwinner and now they're no longer there, and they were the ones who sort of financed the holidays, and you went to all these magical places and marvelous places. Now you're trying to kill yourself as a person who's been left behind. If you're like a spouse who's been left behind, trying to, again, overwhelm yourself with the kids must go to Mombasa because they're used to going to Mombasa over the holidays, you know. So that was a then thing. Yeah. If it can be sustained, I'd say don't do it.
Yeah.
Figure out what works for you as a person who's been left to run the show, and just run with whatever works. And explain to your kids, if you must, why things have to change. Maybe we can't continue XYZ, but we can pick up ABCD. So I guess that also works.
Yeah, and I think these traditions are even in a setting where they're kids. It really helps them also in the grief journey.
Yeah.
Because they will remember.
Yeah.
This is what we were doing back then.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we are still doing it, and it also helps them remember the person who is no longer.
It does. Yeah. Like the thing you were saying, you can, if for example the person liked to do some volunteer work.
Yeah.
Why not? So that's something you can continue. So teach the rest of the family members to, so and so liked to volunteer. Let's go do volunteering during the festive period or whatever it is, just to continue in honor of their memory. I think that's a good one. Maybe my last one would be something that I call coping skills. Because all of us have very different coping skills, which are, say, if you are in a setting that is triggering, like the one that I explained earlier around the coupled up people and you're the only person there and you've just lost your spouse, for example, or in a place where there's a lot of kids and you've lost your child, I'd say when you identify the triggers that trigger you into the intense grief of crying and you need to isolate yourself, for example, I'd say identify whatever coping skills work for you. Some people could be, for example, maybe my coping skill is even counting 1 to 10, right? In that moment, I just take a deep breath, count 1 to 10. If my coping skill is having deep breaths, deep breathing, that has worked for some people, why not? If my coping skills are, say what, journaling, like for example, people like to journal about their experiences. If that's a coping skill for you that you want to pick up, again, why not? So whatever it is identify your coping skills.
Yeah.
And then immediately you feel the wave of grief coming over you during a social setting, or whatever, even if it's not a social setting, figure out what can be your fallback coping skill at the moment. Deep breathing, counting sheep, don't count yourself to sleep, but one of those ones. Yeah. I mentioned isolation.
Oh.
Is that a good thing to do, in your opinion?
I think we all have different ways of mourning or even grieving.
Yeah.
But personally, I think isolation has to be the worst.
I know.
Isolation has to be the worst because when you're isolated, you're on your own with your thoughts.
And it's a scary place to be.
That's when your demons talk to you.
The mind is such a scary place to be.
Yeah, you don't want to be in that place. And I think you might need to have a whole new episode on coping.
Isolation,
and isolation, because this what drives people to so many other things: depression,
unhealthy
alcoholism.
Yeah.
You know, you get so angry at the people around you. Your environment becomes so toxic.
It does.
You know,
it does.
You might not, even if you're not a people's person, you can be in the presence of someone. You don't need to be even talking.
Yeah.
Just be around people.
Yeah. And that's
actually
it helps to be around people. That's for sure. I think the thing about grief, which is the reality that we live in, is when the festive period comes, when the holidays come, you cannot pause it, right? You cannot say, let me pause my grief. We'll pick it up on January 5th or January 7th and we'll continue, right? You have to live through it. And the reality is you cannot pause it. Christmas will continue. Life will continue for a lot of people. You will sit and get so angry at people's lives moving on, where you're still
everyone
so
sad.
Happy. Everyone is happy. People are posting the pictures you were talking about with their mothers and their fathers and their cute little families, which is fine because that's their reality. But then now that we have sort of given, I'd say, what we call maybe our tips for getting through the holidays, which is ultimately the episode of the day, how can I help somebody who is going through this? Like, say I have a friend who has recently lost someone, maybe this year, maybe 3 months ago, we went to the funeral. I know this is their first Christmas without that person. As a supporting friend, what should I do? What would you say?
Well, as a friend, what I know, one value that I have is being there for others.
Being present.
Be present to your friends. Invite them over for the holidays. If they're not feeling that they're in the right space to come over, just understand them. You know, if they want to talk through things, you can offer a hearing ear. Just listen to them, and slowly by slowly, this will help them heal from their grief.
You've said something very interesting, which is talking. If the person wants to talk, be there for them. Be a listening ear. Talk, and I think people talk to give their opinion, but in this case, you don't want to give your opinion. Just listen. The other thing that people around you do, which is maybe one of the things we need to demystify at Grief Angels or within this work, people fear talking about the person who has died, right? So they will walk on eggshells around you. They don't want to mention your mother. They probably not pull up. Even if they'll catch themselves, they're going to say, yeah, you know that time we were going to, and then you're like, if I bring up his mom, it's going to happen. But they forget, because I think this is, as somebody who's been grieving for quite a long time, I actually love talking about my loved ones. Like I want to talk about my mom the entire time. So the other, I'd say, tip that would help is do not fear to talk about the person who's died. We actually want to talk about our loved ones. We want to keep their memory alive. We feel happy when somebody else even brings it up and can I remind you about this favorite memory of your mom or of your dad, whatever it is. Like talk about our loved ones who've passed away. We want it. We love it. We want to hear it. We're looking for someone to have those conversations with, and we don't get that often. So I'd say do that.
Yes, it's something that happens quite a lot. And I remember, like, recently, we were somewhere at a function, and we were having this conversation with a very old friend. Yeah. And then suddenly he talked about my mom. Yeah. And immediately he said, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I used your mom's example." And for me, I was actually okay. So like, why you apologizing? Yeah, why you apologizing about this?
Yeah, the story is about her. You can relate. She can relate. So just talk about her. I think the other thing that also would help when you're supporting a grieving friend is being patient with them. So if you invite them and they say no, okay, just be patient with them. If you call them, they don't answer you. If you text them, they don't text back. It's fine. In fact, you can even text and say, "Hey, I'm not expecting you to text me back, but just know I'm thinking about you." That is all the person wants. And in that text, they will be able to figure out, at least there's no pressure to have to text back, to have to call back. So I guess just be a little patient with them, extend some grace, offer to do even things for them, right? So if you have a lot of Christmas food left over and they don't want to come, send it their way. So nobody wants to be in the kitchen cooking while they're grieving. They will probably not take care of themselves in terms of even just, have I eaten? The same thing that you were doing that first week of of the thing when it happened. I guess continue that. Send them food, send them flowers, whatever it is. Just be present for them, like you said. Yeah. Yeah. Any last words for for the audience as we come to a close? I think this has been quite an interesting conversation. Any last words?
It's been interesting. So just know that grief, it's a process. It takes time to heal. So whatever you feel, it's okay. Never try to suppress your emotions.
Yeah, that only hurts you further.
This is a person that you loved. You will continue loving them for a lifetime. Yeah. So always remember the good memories.
I know.
And with time, it shall get better.
You've said something which is which I've been telling my sister about this, which is, you have loved this person for such a long time. If somebody told you to stop loving your mom, would you stop?
How would you?
Exactly. So why would you expect?
It's not like a software that you would uninstall. You know,
like so, now it's gone. Switch off. So that's the thing about grief. Why would you expect it to end? Because grief is just your love that continues even after the person has died. So I think people should not expect it to end. And we said this at the last episode, which is, grief just evolves. The intensity might it might be very intense in the beginning. Yes. When it has just happened. It might lessen with time, but it stays there. It never goes away.
It never goes away.
It's always there. Okay, so good. Thank you so much for being with us, Babja.
And Baba.
And Baba and Martin. Man, this guy, oldest friend. 30 years of friendship. And you think I have commitment issues, eh? So thank you so much for even just sharing your story with us. I think just allowing yourself to be vulnerable with us and to allow us to get a snippet into what your grief journey has been, almost 2 years down. Yeah. Still quite very raw, still quite very fresh. And kudos. Not a lot of men actually talk about these things. So I think you've done great there. And we hope to have you back on the show at some point to discuss something else. Yep. So thank you so much for staying with us and listening to us today. We hope you've learned one thing or two. The takeaway for us is, if you're there and you're grieving, we have talked about a couple of tips that might work for you. Figure out what works. Not all of them might work for you. Figure out what works, take it, run with it. And for you who's out there who knows somebody who is grieving, I'd say be a little patient with them, extend grace, be present, provide a listening ear. all those nice things we talked about. Talk to them and just let them know that you're there for them. So thank you so much. We hope to see you at the next episode. Do follow us on our socials. We love talking to you and engaging with you. Keep talking to us. If you like the show, do subscribe. Thank you so much. Bye bye.